Have you ever stood before a titan of history? A place where the echoes of glory and tragedy still linger in the air. Welcome to the Roman Colosseum, an icon of power, spectacle, and human endurance. Today, we journey back in time, beyond the crumbling arches and silent stones, to uncover the epic story of the world's most famous amphitheater. Our story begins in the year 72 AD. Under the rule of Emperor Vespasian of the Flavian dynasty, he envisioned a monumental gift for the Roman people. A grand amphitheater built on the site of Emperor Nero's extravagant golden house. It was a calculated political move, replacing a symbol of tyranny with a venue for public entertainment, returning the land to the citizens of Rome. This colossal project was funded by the spoils of war, specifically from the Great Jewish Revolt and the Siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD. Tens of thousands of captive laborers were brought to Rome, their forced toil raising the very walls that would one day host spectacles of life and death. The Colosseum was a monument built on conquest, its foundations literally cemented with the price of a fallen kingdom. Vespasian didn't live to see its completion. That honor fell to his son and successor, Titus, who inaugurated the amphitheater in 80 AD with 100 days of spectacular games. Imagine the scene. The city of Rome, a bustling metropolis of 1 million people, buzzing with excitement. For over 3 months, the new arena was a whirlwind of activity. Historical records, though perhaps exaggerated, speak of thousands of wild animals slain in epic naval battles, known as naumachia, where the arena floor was flooded to reenact famous sea victories. It was a statement of imperial power and generosity, a festival of unparalleled scale that cemented the Flavian dynasty's place in the hearts of the Roman populace. After Titus, his younger brother Domitian added the finishing touches. He constructed the Hypogeum, a complex and ingenious two-level subterranean network of tunnels and cages. Beneath the arena floor, this underground labyrinth was the backstage of the games. Here, gladiators prepared, and wild animals were kept in cages, ready to be lifted onto the arena floor by a sophisticated system of elevators and ramps. This innovation allowed for dramatic entrances, with beasts and fighters seeming to appear from nowhere, heightening the suspense and the spectacle for the 50,000 spectators who packed the stands. The Colosseum wasn't just a venue, it was a microcosm of Roman society. Seating was strictly hierarchical. The emperor and the Vestal virgins had the best seats, right near the action. Senators occupied the next level, followed by the equestrian class, the wealthy citizens. The higher he went, the lower your social standing. The upper tiers were for the common plebeians, and at the very top, in the standing room only section, were women, the poor, and none sit. Your seat in the Colosseum was a public declaration of your place in the world. Then came the age of Emperor Trajan, a period often considered the peak of the Roman Empire's power and prosperity. In 107 AD, to celebrate his victory in the Dacian Wars, Trajan hosted games that dwarfed even Titus's inauguration. For 123 days, the Colosseum was the stage for a staggering display of Roman might. It's said that over 11,000 animals were killed and 10,000 gladiators fought. These weren't just games, they were a reinforcement of the empire's dominance. A demonstration that Rome had dominion over not just people, but nature itself, bringing exotic creatures from the farthest corners of its vast territory to die for the entertainment of its citizens. But who were the men who fought and died on these sands? The gladiators. While many were enslaved people, prisoners of war, or condemned criminals, some were free men who volunteered, seeking fame, fortune, and a chance at glory. They were the superstars of their day, their names graffitied on walls, their likenesses captured in mosaics. Think of figures like Spartacus, though he fought a century before the Colosseum was built. His story of leading a slave revolt against the Roman Republic became a powerful legend. His rebellion embodied the ultimate defiance, a fight for freedom that resonated through the ages and haunted the Roman elite. Within the Colosseum's walls, other heroes emerged. There was Flamma, a Syrian gladiator, who was awarded the Rudes, a wooden sword symbolizing freedom for separate times. Yet, he refused it each time, choosing to continue his career as a gladiator, a testament to the allure of the arena. Or consider Priscus and Verus, Two gladiators who fought so evenly and with such courage in the opening games that Emperor Titus declared them both victors and granted them their freedom on the spot, a rare and celebrated outcome. These stories, whether of heroism or revolt, highlight the complex humanity of the men who were forced to treat death as a performance. For nearly 4 centuries, the Colosseum was the beating heart of Rome. But empires, like the men who build them, are mortal. The decline of the Colosseum was a slow, gradual process. As the Western Roman Empire weakened, the exorbitant cost of hosting the games became unsustainable. The last recorded gladiatorial combat took place in the early 5th century, and the final animal hunts occurred about a century later. The grand spectacles that defined the Colosseum's purpose faded into memory. Nature itself then began to reclaim the structure. A series of devastating earthquakes in the 5th and 6th centuries caused significant damage, particularly to the outer southern wall. The magnificent arena started to crumble. With the games gone and the empire in disarray, the Colosseum found a new, more practical purpose. It became a giant, convenient quarry. For centuries, its stones, iron clamps, and marble were plundered and repurposed to build some of Rome's most famous landmarks, including St. Peter's, Basilica, the Palazzo Venezia, and other churches and palaces. The monument to imperial glory was literally dismantled to build a new Christian Rome. During the medieval period, the ruins were transformed again. Small workshops and housing were built within its arcades. A religious order moved in, using part of the structure as a chapel. For a time, it was even fortified and used as a castle by the powerful Frangipani family. The arena floor, where gladiators once fought, became a marketplace and a communal space, a far cry from its violent origins. One of the most enduring myths about the Colosseum is its role as a site of Christian martyrdom. The image of Christians being thrown to lions is a powerful one, cemented in popular culture. However, while Christians were certainly persecuted by the Roman Empire, there is little to no historical or archaeological evidence to suggest that the Colosseum was a primary venue for these martyrdoms. Most documented executions of Christians in Rome took place at other locations, like the Circus Maximus. The association of the Colosseum with martyrdom largely began in the 16th and 17th centuries, when the Church sought to consecrate the site as a sacred place of pilgrimage, transforming it from a symbol of pagan brutality into a shrine of Christian faith. Over the centuries, the Colosseum witnessed the rise and fall of emperors, the cries of gladiators, and the roar of animals. Legends speak of heroes who fought to the death, of empires built on spectacle, and of a city that transformed this arena into a symbol of endurance and faith. Though the sands are now silent, the stones remember the echoes of glory and tragedy. By the 19th and 20th centuries, a new appreciation for the Colosseum's historical value emerged. Popes and the Italian government initiated various restoration and preservation projects. Archaeologists began excavating the hypogeum, rediscovering the incredible engineering that lay buried for centuries. The crumbling icon was slowly stabilized, its status shifting from a neglected ruin to a cherished monument of world heritage. Today, the Colosseum is more than an ancient ruin. It is a window into the past, a classroom of history, and a beacon of Roman ingenuity. It is the most recognizable symbol of Rome and one of the most visited tourist attractions in the world. Millions of people every year walk through its arches, their footsteps tracing paths trod by senators and commoners. 2,000 years ago, they stand on the viewing platforms, looking down at the arena floor, imagining the deafening roar of the crowd, the clang of steel on steel, and the raw courage of the gladiators who once stood upon its sands. The Colosseum's grip on our collective imagination is undeniable. It has been a central character in countless movies, from the epic Gladiator to historical documentaries. It has inspired artists, writers, and architects for centuries. Its image is a universal shorthand for ancient Rome, for power and for the thrilling, brutal spectacle of the games. It is a place that forces us to confront the complexities of history, the heights of human achievement and the depths of our cruelty, all encased within one magnificent, broken circle of stone. From a stage for imperial propaganda to a quarry for a new city, from a fortress to a sacred shrine, and now to a global icon. The Colosseum has lived many lives. It stands as a powerful testament to the ingenuity of its builders, the spirit of those who fought within it, and the enduring legacy of the Roman Empire. It reminds us that even the mightiest structures can fall. But their stories, if we choose to listen, will echo for eternity. In the heart of Rome, where the ruins of ancient empires whisper stories of glory, power, and blood, stands a monument that has witnessed triumphs and tragedies for nearly 2,000 years, the Colosseum. It was a theater of dreams, a battlefield of courage, and a symbol of the might of the Roman Empire. Tonight, we uncover the secrets of this ancient arena, the stories of gladiators, emperors, and the people who watched history unfold. Join us as we journey back in time to an era of unparalleled spectacle and brutal reality, to explore the legacy of the most iconic amphitheater ever built. Our story begins in the aftermath of chaos. The year is 64 AD, and a great fire has just ravaged Rome, leaving a trail of destruction. In its wake, the controversial Emperor Nero builds his Domus Aurea, a lavish golden palace, complete with a massive artificial lake right in the city's center. His extravagance breeds resentment, and after his death, Rome plunges into a year of civil war. From this turmoil emerges a new leader, Vespasian, a pragmatic general determined to restore stability and win the favor of the Roman people. His master to drain Nero's private lake and, on that very spot, erect a colossal public amphitheater, a gift to the citizens of Rome. This wasn't just about entertainment. It was a powerful political statement, reclaiming public land for the public and erasing the memory of a tyrant, Vespasian, seeking to restore Rome's honor after the chaos of Nero's reign, envisioned a grand amphitheater where citizens could witness spectacles of strength and bravery. Construction began in 72 AD. It was a monumental undertaking. Over 20,000 laborers, a mix of skilled Roman artisans, engineers, and a vast number of slaves, toiled for nearly a decade. They quarried and transported massive blocks of travertine limestone from Tivoli, over 20 miles away, and pioneered the use of Roman concrete, a revolutionary material that allowed for the building's immense arches and vaults. Imagine the scene. Thousands of workers, the clang of hammers on stone, the shouts of foremen, all working to create a marvel that still stands today. This wasn't just construction, it was a testament to Roman engineering and organizational genius. When Vespasian's son, Titus, finally inaugurated the Flavian Amphitheater in AD, the scale was simply breathtaking. Standing at over 157 feet high, it was the largest amphitheater in the world. It could hold between 50,000 and 80,000 spectators, a crowd size comparable to a modern football stadium. Getting this many people in and out efficiently was a challenge, one the Romans solved with brilliant design. The Colosseum had 80 entrances, known as vomitoria, which allowed the massive crowds to enter and exit in a matter of minutes. Inside, the seating was strictly hierarchical, a perfect mirror of Roman society. The best seats, right near the arena floor, were reserved for the emperor and the senatorial class. Above them sat the equestrians, the wealthy businessmen. The higher you went, the lower your social status. The commensitors, the plebeians, filled the middle tiers, while women and the poorest of the poor were relegated to the very top, with wooden seats and the worst views. The games held within these walls were the heart of Roman entertainment. The inaugural games, under Titus, lasted for 100 days straight, a non-stop festival of spectacle and slaughter. The events were diverse and meticulously planned. They often began with venations, or wild animal hunts, exotic beasts from the far corners of the empire. Tigers, bears, elephants, rhinosaur, brought to Rome to be hunted and killed in elaborate scenarios. These weren't simple hunts. The arena floor, a wooden surface covered in sanda harina, which gives us our word arena, hid an incredible subterranean complex called the hypogeum. This network of tunnels and chambers was an underground city. It housed the animals, the gladiators, and the stage machinery. Using a complex system of elevators and trapdoors, entire landscapes, complete with trees and rocks, could be hoisted onto the arena floor, creating a stunning backdrop for the hunts. One moment you'd see a desert, the next a forest. Then came the midday executions, a grim public display of Roman justice. Criminals, prisoners of war, and religious dissenters were executed in cruel and theatrical ways. It was a stark reminder of the power of the state. But the main event, the one everyone came to see, was the gladiatorial combat. Gladiators were typically slaves, condemned criminals, or prisoners of war, trained in special schools to fight to the death for the entertainment of the masses. They were celebrities, superstars of their day, admired for their skill and bravery, yet they were also a disposable commodity. There were many types of gladiators, each with their own specific armor and fighting style, often pitted against a contrasting opponent to make the fights more exciting. The Retiarius fought with a net and trident, lightly armored and agile. His opponent might be the Secutor, heavily armed with a large shield and sword. This careful pairing turned combat into a form of deadly theater. A gladiator who fought well could win his freedom, symbolized by a wooden sword called the rudis. But for many, the sand of the arena was the last ground they ever touched. The emperor's role was central. He was the ultimate showman, the one who paid for the games and presided over them. The crowd's reaction, the roar for mercy or the turn of a thumb demanding death, was a form of public dialogue with their ruler. For the emperor, the games were a way to gauge public opinion and display his generosity and power. Beyond the gladiators and the hunts, the Colosseum also hosted Naumachia, or mock sea battles. For these incredible spectacles, the arena floor would be flooded, and specially designed ships would engage in naval combat, reenacting famous historical victories. Imagine the engineering feat required to make the Colosseum watertight and fill it with millions of gallons of water, then drain it all to resume the regular games. It's a testament to the Romans' boundless ambition. For over 400 years, the Colosseum was the epicenter of Roman life and death. But as the empire began to decline, so did the games. The rise of Christianity brought a change in public morality, and the immense cost of the spectacles became unsustainable. The last recorded gladiatorial fights took place in the early 5th century, and the animal hunts ceased about a century later. After the fall of Rome, the Colosseum fell into disuse. It was damaged by earthquakes and plundered for its stone and metal, which were used to build palaces, churches, and bridges across Rome. For centuries, it served as a fortress, a quarry, and even a housing complex. But even in ruin, its power endured. It became a symbol of Rome's past glory, inspiring artists, poets, and pilgrims. Today, the Colosseum stands as a powerful, haunting reminder of the grandeur, ingenuity, and brutality of the Roman world. It attracts millions of visitors each year, each one walking through its arches, trying to imagine the roar of the crowd and the clash of steel. It is more than just a ruin. It is a story written in stone, a lesson in history that continues to captivate and horrify us. It speaks of the heights of human achievement and the depths of our capacity for cruelty, a monument that truly has seen it all. Ever wondered what it was really like to be a gladiator? Forget the Hollywood movies for a moment. Let's step back in time, into the heart of ancient Rome, and uncover the truth behind the legendary Colosseum. Imagine waking up not in a comfortable bed, but in a Spartan cell within a Ludus Asterisk, a gladiator training school. These were tough, disciplined environments. Your life was a strict routine of intense physical training, from dawn till dusk. You weren't just learning to fight. You were being molded into an entertainer, a spectacle. Your diet wasn't lavish feasts, but a high-carb mix of barley and beans, designed to build a layer of fat over your muscles. Why? This fat layer could absorb superficial cuts, making fights bloodier and more dramatic for the crowd, without causing immediate, life-threatening injury. It was a calculated part of the show. Within the Ludus Asterisk, a strict hierarchy existed. New recruits, the Novici Asterisk, were at the bottom. As you survived and proved your skill, you could climb the ranks, becoming a Asterisk, Primus, Palus, Asterisk, the top-ranked gladiator of the school. Earning this title meant better living conditions, better food, and the respect of your peers. Some gladiators were prisoners of war or slaves, forced into this brutal career. Others, surprisingly, were free men who volunteered, chasing fame, fortune, or a way to pay off debts. They were the rock stars of their time, their names etched into graffiti on city walls, their images captured in mosaics and pottery. Now, let's enter the arena itself. The roar of 50,000 spectators is deafening. The sand, or arena beneath your feet is stained from countless battles. The games were far more varied than just man versus man combat. The day might begin with Venetians, or wild beast hunts. Imagine the sheer spectacle. Exotic animals imported from the farthest corners of the Roman Empire, lions from Africa, tigers from the Middle East, even elephants and rhinos unleashed into the arena to be hunted by specially trained beast fighters called bestiary. It was a display of Rome's power, a demonstration that its reach extended over the entire known world. Then came the main events. The classic one-on-one duels were a carefully choreographed dance of death between different types of gladiators, each with unique armor and weaponry. The heavily armed Mamilo with his large shield and sword, might face a swift Brachirius who fought with only a net and trident. This contrast in styles made for a thrilling, unpredictable combat. It wasn't always a fight to the death. A gladiator who fought bravely could appeal to the crowd and the emperor for mercy, and often it was granted. A skilled gladiator was a valuable investment, too expensive to lose needlessly. But the Romans didn't stop there. For the ultimate spectacle, they staged mock naval battles. Can you believe it? They would flood the Colosseum floor to recreate epic sea conflicts, with specially designed ships and thousands of performers acting as soldiers and sailors. This was entertainment on an unimaginable scale, a testament to Roman ingenuity and their unquenchable thirst for bigger and better shows. So, why go to all this trouble? The Colosseum was more than just an amphitheater. It was a powerful tool of political propaganda. The games, often sponsored by the emperor himself, were a way to win the favor of the people. By providing free, spectacular entertainment, famous bread and circuses emperors could distract the populace from political problems, celebrate military victories, and showcase their generosity and power. A successful day at the games meant a more popular and stable reign for the emperor. It was a calculated political strategy, played out on the grandest stage imaginable. Now, let's talk about the building itself. The Colosseum wasn't just a theater. It was an engineering masterpiece that still astounds us today. How did the Romans build something so massive that has survived for nearly 2,000 years through earthquakes and the fall of an empire? The secret lies in their innovative use of materials and design. The Romans perfected the arch. Look at the Colosseum's exterior. It's a symphony of arches, stacked 3 stories high. This design wasn't just for looks. The arches distributed the immense weight of the structure downwards and outwards, allowing them to build higher and with more open space than ever before. This revolutionary concept is the foundation of much of Western architecture. They also pioneered the use of concrete. Roman concrete was a unique mixture of volcanic ash, lime, and rubble. It was incredibly strong, durable, and could be molded into any shape, allowing for the vast, curved walls and vaults of the Colosseum. It was cheaper and more versatile than solid stone, enabling the Romans to build on an unprecedented scale. Think about the logistics of moving 50,000 people in and out. The Colosseum had 80 entrances and exits, known as VOMITORIA, which allowed the massive crowds to fill and empty the stadium in mere minutes. It was a masterclass in crowd control that modern stadiums still emulate. And to protect the spectators from the scorching Roman sun, they had the Valerium asterisk, a gigantic retractable awning made of canvas that covered the entire seating area. It took 1,000 sailors from the Roman Navy to operate this complex system of ropes and pulleys. But the most fascinating part of the Colosseum was hidden from view. Beneath the sandy arena floor lay the Hypogeum Asterisk, an incredible two-story underground labyrinth of tunnels, cages, and elevators. This was the backstage of the games. Here, gladiators and condemned prisoners waited for their turn in the arena. Wild animals were kept in cages, ready to be hoisted up through trapdoors, appearing as if from nowhere to the astonishment of the crowd. Complex scenery could also be raised and lowered, transforming the arena floor from a forest to a desert in minutes. This underground world was the engine that powered the spectacle above. CGI reconstructions now allow us to visualize this incredible system, revealing a level of technical sophistication that is simply mind-blowing for its time. So how has this marvel survived? The Colosseum has endured fires, lightning strikes, and numerous earthquakes. Its survival is a testament to its brilliant design. The combination of strong concrete and a flexible system of arches allowed the structure to absorb seismic shocks that would have leveled lesser buildings. While parts have crumbled, the core structure remains, a silent witness to the genius of its creators. The Colosseum was the heartbeat of Rome. It was a symbol of power, a stage for incredible spectacle, and a marvel of engineering that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. It wasn't just a place of brutal games. It was a complex social and political instrument, and an architectural wonder that continues to inspire. Next time you see a picture of it, remember the stories hidden within its ancient stones of the gladiators who fought for their lives, the emperors who sought popularity, and the brilliant engineers who built an icon for the ages. Camera pans across a stunning, sun-drenched view of the modern-day Colosseum, with tourists milling about. The shot slowly transitions into a dynamic, animated reconstruction of the ancient structure in its full glory. Step back in time, to an age of emperors, legions, and epic spectacles. In the heart of ancient Rome, a monument was born that would echo through eternity. This is the story of the Colosseum, a place where the roar of the crowd met the clash of steel, and where the destiny of an empire was written in sand and stone. Imagine Rome in the year 72 AD. The city is still recovering from the lavish and chaotic reign of Emperor Nero. A new dynasty, the Flavians, has risen to power, and its patriarch, Emperor Vespasian, has a grand vision. He wants to give something back to the Roman people, a symbol of stability, power, and shared entertainment. But where to build such a colossal structure? The answer was audacious. He chose the site of Nero's decadent golden house, specifically the massive artificial lake at its center. Draining the lake was a monumental task in itself, a clear statement that the era of private indulgence was over, and the era of public spectacle had begun. Visuals shift to an animated sequence showing Roman engineers at work. We see blueprints, models, and workers hauling massive blocks of travertine stone. Construction of what was originally known as the Flavian Amphitheater was a marvel of Roman engineering. This wasn't just a building, it was a masterclass in logistics, architecture, and crowd control. The primary material was travertine limestone, quarried from the nearby hills of Tivoli and transported to the city. But the real secret to its longevity was Roman concrete, a revolutionary material that allowed for the creation of its iconic arches and vaults. The design was ingenious, a complex system of tiered seating, corridors known as ambulatory, and numbered entrances called vomitoria, allowed tens of thousands of spectators to find their seats and exit quickly. Think about Aitaiti entrances and exits for a stadium holding up to 80,000 people. Modern stadiums still use these same principles today. The sheer scale is hard to comprehend. It was the largest amphitheater ever built, a testament to the Flavian dynasty's ambition and their desire to leave an indelible mark on the world. Scene transitions to the inaugural games under Emperor Titus. Animated crowds cheer wildly as gladiators entered the arena. After nearly a decade of construction, the Colosseum was finally inaugurated in 80 AD by Vespasian's son, Emperor Titus. And what an inauguration it was, to celebrate Titus' declared 100 days of games. This was not just a few events. It was a citywide festival of unparalleled scale. Historical accounts tell of thousands of wild animals being hunted and killed in staged hunts, called lions from Africa, bears from Caledonia, and crocodiles from the Nile were brought to Rome to awe the crowds. But the main attraction, of course, was the gladiators. These were the superstars of their day. Some were slaves, some were prisoners of war, and others were free men seeking fame and fortune. They trained in special schools, learning to fight with different weapons and styles. A Meramilo with his large shield and sword might face a nimble Resiarius, armed with a net and trident. Each combat was a dramatic performance, a display of skill, bravery, and martial prowess. The crowd would roar, placing bets, cheering their favorites, and ultimately, with a turn of the thumb, they could influence the fate of a defeated gladiator. It was brutal, yes, but to the Romans, it was the ultimate entertainment. The visuals now focus on the complex underground area, the Hypogeum. We see animated cutaways of trapdoors, elevators, and cages. Beneath the blood-soaked sand of the arena floor lay another world, a hidden labyrinth known as the Hypogeum. This was the backstage of the Colosseum, a complex network of tunnels, cells, and mechanical elevators. Here, gladiators waited for their moment of destiny. Cages held ferocious beasts, ready to be hoisted into the arena through cleverly disguised trapdoors, creating shocking and dramatic entrances. Scenery could be raised and lowered, transforming the arena from a forest for a hunt to a backdrop for mythological reenactments. This subterranean marvel, added by Emperor Titus's younger brother, allowed for seamless and spectacular productions. Imagine sitting in the stands, watching a calm scene, when suddenly a lion erupts from the ground, seemingly out of nowhere. The level of stagecraft and technical sophistication was astounding for its time, designed to keep the audience on the edge of their seats and completely immersed in the spectacle. The Hypogeum was the engine that drove the Colosseum's grand theater of life and death. Camera pans over different social classes in the stands, senators in the front, women and the poor at the very top. But the Colosseum was more than just an entertainment venue. It was a microcosm of Roman society itself. Where you sat was a direct reflection of your status. The best seats, right near the action, were reserved for the emperor, senators, and the Vestal virgins. As you moved up the tiers, the social standing of the spectators decreased. The knights, wealthy citizens, and then the common plebeians each had their designated sections. At the very top, in the wooden nosebleed seats, sat the poorest citizens, slaves, and women. This rigid seating plan reinforced the social hierarchy every time the games were held. It was a powerful reminder to everyone of their place in the Roman world. Yet, at the same time, it was a unifying experience. From the emperor down to the humblest commoner, everyone shared in the excitement, the suspense, and the collective thrill of the games. It was a carefully managed bread and circuses policy, providing free entertainment to keep the population happy and distracted from political troubles. The scene shifts to show the Colosseum in different eras, being used as a fortress, a quarry, and then falling into ruin. For over 4 centuries, the Colosseum was the epicenter of Roman entertainment, but empires don't last forever. As Rome's power waned and Christianity spread, the gladiatorial games fell out of favor. Deemed a pagan and barbaric, the last recorded games were held in the 6th century. After that, the Colosseum's purpose changed dramatically. It was repurposed as a fortress by powerful Roman families, its impenetrable walls offering protection during the turbulent Middle Ages. It became a source of building materials, its stone and marble plundered to build churches and palaces across Rome, including parts of St. Peter's Basilica. Earthquakes took their toll, causing the southern side to collapse, creating the iconic ruin we see today. For centuries, the mighty amphitheater was neglected, a shadow of its former glory, overgrown with plants and shrouded in myth. It was seen as a haunted place, a symbol of a fallen pagan world. Transition to modern-day footage, scholars studying the ruins, preservation efforts, and tourists from all over the world exploring the site. But the story of the Colosseum doesn't end in ruin. During the Renaissance, artists and architects began to study its design, recognizing its classical genius. In the 18th and 19th centuries, a new appreciation for history emerged, and efforts began to preserve what was left. Popes initiated conservation projects, clearing the debris and reinforcing the remaining structure. The Colosseum transformed from a quarry into a treasured historical monument, a pilgrimage site for travelers on the Grand Tour. Today, it is the most recognizable symbol of Rome and one of the most visited tourist attractions in the world. Millions of people walk through its arches each year, trying to imagine the sounds and sights of the ancient games. Archaeologists and historians continue to study it, uncovering new secrets about its construction and its role in Roman life. It stands as a powerful educational tool, teaching us about engineering, society, and the brutal realities of the ancient world. Final sequence. A slow, majestic aerial shot. Pulling back from the Colosseum at sunset, the modern city of Rome glows around it. The frame focuses on the silhouette of the ancient structure against the vibrant sky. The Colosseum has survived earthquakes, looting, and the passage of nearly 2 millennia. It stands as a testament to human ambition, ingenuity, and our eternal fascination with courage and spectacle. From the roar of the crowds to the silence of history, the Colosseum whispers the story of Rome. And in many ways, it tells the story of us all. It reminds us of the heights of human achievement and the depths of our capacity for brutality. It is a symbol of power, a monument to entertainment, and a solemn ruin that connects our modern world directly to the heart of a long-lost empire. What was it truly like to be a gladiator? Was it a life of chains and despair, or one of fame and fortune? And what secrets lie buried beneath the sands of the world's most infamous arena? Join me as we uncover the truth behind the legends of the gladiators and the architectural marvel that was their stage. This is the story of the Colosseum, a theater of life and death. Imagine being torn from your home, sold into a life where your only value is your ability to fight. This was the reality for many who became gladiators. They were prisoners of war, criminals, or slaves, forced into a brutal new existence. Yet, within this grim world, a strange paradox emerged. These men, owned by others, could become the biggest celebrities in Rome. They were trained in special schools called ludi runbi, Hellenista men who was both their owner and their manager. These ludi were part training camp, part prison. Here, gladiators learned the deadly arts of combat, specializing in different fighting styles, each with its own unique set of weapons and armor. There was the Riciarius, with his net and trident, nimble and quick, and the heavily armed Murmillo, a walking fortress of shield and sword. Day in and day out, they trained, their bodies honed into living weapons, their minds focused on one thing: survival. They formed brotherhoods, bonds forged in sweat and shared struggle, knowing that the man they trained with today could be their opponent tomorrow. The training was relentless, the discipline absolute, but for those who excelled, the rewards were immense. Fame, adoration from the crowds, and for a select few, the ultimate prize: freedom. The day of the games, or Munera, was a spectacle of epic proportions. The city of Rome would grind to a halt. From the emperor to the common plebeian, everyone flocked to the Colosseum. The procession into the arena was a show in itself. The gladiators, polished and parading in ornate armor, were presented to the cheering mass. The editor, the sponsor of the games, would preside over the events, often the emperor himself. Before the fighting began, the gladiators would salute him with the famous, and perhaps slightly phrase, "We who are about to die, salute you." The air would crackle with anticipation, but the main event wasn't always man against man. The morning often began with the Venatians, the wild beast hunts. Imagine the scene. From the far corners of the Roman Empire, the most exotic and dangerous animals were shipped to Rome. Lions from North Africa, tigers from the east, bears from the mountains of Caledonia, and even elephants and rhinoceroses. These magnificent creatures, confused and terrified, were unleashed into the arena to be hunted by specially trained beast fighters called It was a display of Rome's power, a demonstration that the empire could conquer not just men, but nature itself. The crowd roared with a mixture of fear and fascination as these hunts played out, a bloody prelude to the main attraction. Then came the highlight of the day: the gladiatorial combats. The sand of the arena, freshly raked to cover the blood from the morning's hunts, was ready. Pairs of gladiators, often carefully matched for contrasting styles, would enter the arena. The clash of steel, the grunts of effort, the roar of 80,000 spectators. It was a sensory overload. Every move was scrutinized. This wasn't just mindless butchery. It was a display of skill, courage, and strategy. A gladiator who fought bravely, even in defeat, could win the crowd's respect. And the crowd's opinion mattered. When a gladiator was defeated, brought to his knees, his fate often rested in their hands. The fallen fighter would raise a finger, appealing for mercy. The editor would look to the crowd. Thumbs up, and he lived to fight another day. Thumbs down, and his opponent was ordered to deliver the final blow. It was the ultimate reality show, where the audience held the power of life and death. Contrary to popular belief, not every fight ended in death. Gladiators were expensive assets, and a leanista wouldn't want to lose his investment. Many were spared, especially popular and skilled fighters, but the risk was always there, a shadow hanging over every single match. The victors, however, were showered with glory. They received a palm branch, a victory crown, and prize money. They became heroes, their names chanted in the streets, their images graffitied on walls. They were slaves, yet they were superstars. What the cheering crowd saw was only half the story. Beneath the blood-soaked sand of the arena floor lay a hidden world. The Hypogeum, this subterranean labyrinth, a name meaning underground, was the backstage of the Colosseum's deadly theater. It was a complex network of tunnels, chambers, and holding pens, a beehive of activity completely invisible to the spectators above. Here, gladiators would wait, listening to the roar of the crowd, their hearts pounding in anticipation of their moment in the sun. Down in the dim light, surrounded by the smell of sweat, fear, and wild animals, the tension was immense. Cages held the terrified beasts, snarling and pacing, ready to be unleashed. An incredible system of elevators and trapdoors connected this underworld to the arena floor. Imagine being a gladiator, standing on a wooden platform in the near, and then suddenly being hoisted upwards by a complex system of ropes and pulleys, rising into the blinding light and the deafening noise of the Colosseum. One moment, you're in a cramped tunnel. The next, you're the center of attention for 80,000 people. This feat of engineering allowed for dramatic entrances, making it seem as if men and beasts appeared out of nowhere, adding to the magic and terror of the games. The Colosseum itself was more than just a venue. It was a testament to Roman ingenuity and power. Completed in 80 AD under the Emperor Titus, its official name was the Flavian Amphitheater. It could hold up to 80,000 spectators, all organized in a tiered seating system that reflected the strict social hierarchy of Roman society. The emperor and senators had the best seats, right near the action, while women and the lower classes were seated in the highest tiers. The sheer scale is breathtaking. Built from travertine stone and a revolutionary new Materia Roman concretized design, was a masterpiece of architecture. A series of 80 arches on each of the first 3 floors created a sense of lightness and elegance, while also providing structural strength. These arches served as entrances and exits, a system so efficient it was said the entire Colosseum could be emptied in mere minutes. And think about the Roman sun. To protect the spectators, the Colosseum was equipped with the Velarium, a massive retractable awning made of canvas. A special detachment of sailors was tasked with operating this complex rigging, unfurling it to provide shade for the mass. It was an engineer in marvel, a perfect fusion of form and function, designed for crowd control, comfort, and ultimate spectacle. It stood as a symbol of Rome's dominance, a building that has withstood earthquakes, fires, and the ravages of time to still stand today, a silent witness to its own brutal and magnificent history. So, why did the Romans love these brutal games so much? It's a question that historians have debated for centuries. For one, it was a form of political control. The emperors provided bread and circuses, free food and entertainment to keep the population of Rome happy and distracted from political problems. The games were a way to display the emperor's generosity and power. They were also a way to reinforce the Roman social order and their values. The gladiators' fights demonstrated the virtues of courage, discipline, and skill in the face of death. The beast hunts showed Rome's dominion over the natural world, a metaphor for its empire. It also served as a form of public justice, Executions of criminals were often carried out in the arena during the midday lull, serving as a grim warning to the populace. But on a deeper level, the games spoke to something fundamental in the human psyche. The thrill of watching a life-and-death struggle from a position of safety. It was the ultimate spectacle. A carefully choreographed performance of violence and bravery that captivated an entire civilization. The gladiator. A slave who could become a god for a day. Embodied the contradictions of Roman society itself, its brutality and its sophistication, its cruelty and its love for a spectacle. The era of the gladiator slowly faded as the Roman Empire changed. The rise of Christianity, with its emphasis on the sanctity of life, played a major role. Christian emperors began to issue decrees limiting and eventually banning the games. The last recorded gladiatorial combat in the Colosseum took place in the early 5th century. The building itself fell into disuse, plundered for its stone and left to decay. But the legend of the gladiator never died. It has been romanticized and reimagined in books and films, capturing our imagination for generations. The gladiator has become a timeless symbol of struggle, survival, and the fight for freedom against impossible odds. Today, millions of visitors walk through the ruins of the Colosseum, trying to imagine the roar of the crowd and the clash of swords. It stands as a powerful reminder of a world that was both magnificent and terrifying. A civilization that created breathtaking art and literature, yet also celebrated death as public entertainment. The story of the gladiators is not just a tale of ancient Rome. It's a story about human nature, about society, and about the enduring power of spectacle. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the heart of ancient Rome. The Colosseum and its gladiators continue to teach us so much about the past, and perhaps even about ourselves. Step into the heart of ancient Rome, where stone and legend intertwine. This isn't just a ruin, it's the Colosseum, the most iconic amphitheater ever built, a place where the echoes of history roar louder than any lion. For nearly 2,000 years, this colossal structure has dominated the Roman landscape, a testament to an empire's power, its ingenuity, and its insatiable thirst for spectacle. But what stories are etched into its weathered arches? What secrets lie beneath its arena floor? Today, we journey back in time to unravel the epic tale of the Colosseum. From its bloody beginnings to its status as a global icon, we'll separate facts from fiction, explore the lives of the gladiators who fought within its walls, and understand how this monument became a symbol of both Rome's glory and its brutality. This is the story of the Flavian Amphitheater, a theater of life and death. Let's rewind to the 1st century AD. Rome is in turmoil. The extravagant and tyrannical Emperor Nero has just met his end, leaving a power vacuum and a city scarred by his excesses. After a chaotic year of civil war, a new dynasty rises. The new emperor, Vespasian, needs to win over the people and distance himself from Nero's legacy. His solution, a grand gesture of public generosity. He chooses the site of Nero's opulent private lake, part of his vast golden house, and decides to drain it. On this land, he will build a magnificent amphitheater for the people of Rome, a gift to erase the memory of a tyrant's. Construction began around 72 AD. A massive undertaking funded by the spoils of war, including treasures looted from the temple in Jerusalem. Imagine the scale of this project. An estimated 100,000 cubic meters of travertine stone, quarried and transported from Tivoli, 20 miles away. Thousands of laborers, engineers, and artisans worked tirelessly. The Colosseum wasn't just built, it was engineered with breathtaking precision. It featured a complex system of arches and vaults, a design so effective it's still studied today. It could seat an estimated 50,000 to 80,000 spectators, all organized by a numbered ticketing system, not unlike a modern stadium. In 80 AD, after nearly a decade of construction, Vespasian's son and successor, Titus, inaugurated the Colosseum with a bang. He threw a festival of games, lasting 100 days. The historian Cassius Dio tells us it was a spectacle of unimaginable scale. Thousands of wild animals, elephants, tigers, lions, bears, and crocodiles were brought from across the empire to be hunted and killed in the arena. There were public executions and, of course, the main event, gladiatorial combat. But the inauguration held an even more incredible surprise. Titus ordered the arena floor to be flooded to stage mock naval battles, known as naumachia, complete with warships and fighting sailors. It was a stunning demonstration of Roman engineering and a clear message to the world. Rome was powerful, wealthy, and its emperor was a generous provider of entertainment. The Colosseum had arrived, and it was the greatest show on earth. So, who were the gladiators? The men who fought and died on the sands of the Colosseum. They weren't all Hollywood heroes. Most were slaves, prisoners of war, or condemned criminals. People at the very bottom of the social ladder. Yet, successful gladiators could become superstars, adored by the crowds, immortalized in mosaics and graffiti. They trained in special schools called ludae, under the strict discipline of a lanista, their owner and trainer. They specialized in different fighting styles, each with distinct armor and weaponry. The retiarius, or net fighter, was lightly armed with a trident and a net, relying on speed and agility. He often faced the heavily armored secuta, whose helmet was smooth to avoid being snagged by the net. Terivaste, Vermillo, with his fish-crested helmet, large shield, and sword, often pitted against a Threx or Thracian, who wielded a curved, short sword. These pairings were carefully designed for maximum drama and entertainment. A day at the Colosseum was an all-day affair. The morning might feature venations, or wild animal hunts. Midday was reserved for the grim spectacle of public executions. But the afternoon was for the gladiators. The crowd would roar as they paraded into the arena, saluting the emperor. The fight was a brutal dance of skill and survival. Contrary to popular belief, not every fight ended in death. Gladiators were a valuable investment, and a defeated fighter could be spared if he had fought bravely. And the crowd or the emperor showed mercy with a thumbs up. Gesture, though, the exact nature of this gesture is still debated by historians. Beneath the wooden arena floor lay a whole other world. The Hypogeum. This was the Colosseum's backstage, a two-level network of tunnels, passages, and chambers that was a masterpiece of logistics. It was added later, under the reign of Emperor Domitian. Here, gladiators and wild animals were held in cells, waiting for their moment in the spotlight. Imagine the scene: the stench of sweat, blood, and caged beasts, the clang of metal, the nervous energy of men preparing for battle. The Hypogeum was equipped with a series of elevators and trapdoors, a technological marvel for its time. At a moment's notice, a gladiator, a bear, or even elaborate scenery could be hoisted up and appear as if by magic in the middle of the arena, stunning the audience. This underground labyrinth was the engine that powered the spectacular illusions of the games, a hidden world of organized chaos that made the impossible possible. The Colosseum was more than just an entertainment venue. It was a microcosm of Roman society. Seating was strictly hierarchical. The best seats at the front were reserved for the emperor, senators, and vestal virgins. The higher you went, the lower your social status. The top tier, the nosebleeds, was for women, the poor, and unsaved. The games themselves served a political purpose, a policy of bread and circuses. By providing free food and spectacular entertainment, the emperors could keep the populace happy and distracted, reinforcing their power and popularity. It was a stage for imperial propaganda. What about the famous legend of Christians being martyred in the Colosseum, thrown to the lions? While Christians were certainly persecuted by the Roman Empire, there is actually no definitive historical or archaeological evidence to prove that the Colosseum was a primary site for their martyrdom. Many of these stories emerged later, in the Middle Ages, as the Colosseum became a symbol of pagan brutality. While it's possible some Christians perished there as part of general criminal the idea of mass martyrdom in the arena is more legend than documented fact. For nearly 4 centuries, the Colosseum was the epicenter of Roman entertainment, but empires, like all things, decline. The rise of Christianity brought a shift in public morality, and the bloody gladiatorial games lost their appeal. The last recorded gladiatorial fights took place in the early 5th century, and the final animal hunts occurred about a century later. The Western Roman Empire was crumbling, and the cost of maintaining the massive structure and staging the elaborate games became unsustainable. The Colosseum began its long, slow decline. It was damaged by several major earthquakes, most notably one in 1349, which caused the entire outer south side to collapse. The rubble became a convenient quarry. For centuries, the fallen stone, the iron clamps holding the blocks together, and even its marble decorations were carted away and repurposed to build churches, palaces, and other buildings across Rome, including parts of St. Peter's. The once glorious amphitheater became a fortress, a housing complex, a workshop, and even a Christian shrine. It was overgrown with vegetation, a romantic ruin that inspired artists and poets of the Renaissance and beyond. The Colosseum's transformation from a forgotten ruin to a cherished monument began in the 18th and 19th centuries. The Catholic Church, which had once viewed it as a site of pagan excess, began to consecrate it as a site of Christian martyrdom, saving it from further plundering. Popes initiated the first restoration and archaeological projects, aiming to preserve what was left. In the 20th century, and continuing to this day, Italy has invested heavily in studying and preserving the Colosseum. Archaeologists have excavated the hypogeum, revealing its complex machinery, and ongoing restoration efforts work to stabilize the structure, clean the stone, and protect it from pollution and the vibrations of the modern city. Today, the Colosseum is Rome's most popular tourist attraction, drawing millions of visitors each year. It stands as a powerful, dual symbol, a monument to the architectural and engineering genius of ancient Rome, and a somber reminder of the cruelty and violence that was once celebrated as entertainment. When you walk its corridors today, you're walking through layers of history. You can almost hear the roar of the crowd, feel the tension of the gladiators, and sense the immense ambition of the empire that built it. It's no longer a stage for death, but a timeless classroom, teaching us about the heights of human achievement and the depths of human nature. From the vision of Emperor Vespasian to the roar of 80,000 spectators, the Colosseum was the beating heart of the Roman Empire. It was a theater of power, a stadium of spectacle, and a canvas for stories that have outlived the empire itself. Its weathered stones tell a tale of engineering brilliance, of the lives of gladiators who fought for glory or survival, and of the complex society that filled its stands. Though scarred by time, earthquakes, and plunder, its essence endures. The Colosseum remains an undeniable symbol of Rome's eternal legacy, a place where the past feels breathtakingly present. Dramatic, captivating voice. Imagine a place where the roar of thousands fills the air, where warriors clash for survival, and where life and death hang on the single swing of a sword. Welcome to the Colosseum, the arena, where Rome's greatest legends were born, and where blood and glory were etched into history. For nearly 2,000 years, this monumental structure has stood as a silent witness to empires, heroes, and the unending human thirst for power and spectacle. Its arches have framed both triumph and tragedy. Its sands have soaked in courage and fear. Tonight, we step inside the world of gladiators, emperors, and untold secrets. This is a story of courage, ambition, and the eternal heart of Rome. In 72 AD, Emperor Vespasian laid the first stone of a monument that would outlive his reign and define an entire era. Built on the drained bed of Nero's decadent artificial lake, the Colosseum was an absolute marvel of engineering, a symphony of travertine stone, Roman concrete, and sheer ingenuity. It was shaped into an arena capable of holding up to 80,000 spectators. Every brick laid and every arch raised told a story of imperial ambition, unparalleled skill, and the relentless pursuit of glory. The construction itself was a spectacle. Tens of thousands of laborers, many of them prisoners of war, worked tirelessly for nearly a decade. They quarried massive blocks of travertine from the nearby hills of Tivoli, transporting them to the heart of Rome. Using advanced cranes and pulley systems powered by human and animal strength, they hoisted these stones into place, creating the iconic four-story structure we recognize today. The Colosseum wasn't just built, it was sculpted. Each of the 80 arches on the ground floor served as an entrance, allowing the massive crowds to enter and exit in mere minutes, an incredible feat of crowd control that modern stadiums still study. This wasn't just a building, it was a statement, a gift from the Flavian dynasty to the people of Rome. It replaced the symbol of private luxury with one of public entertainment. securing their place in the hearts of the citizens. When the Colosseum was finally inaugurated in 80 AD under Emperor Titus, it was celebrated with 100 days of games. This was not just an opening ceremony, it was the grandest festival Rome had ever seen. The arena floor was a stage for every kind of spectacle imaginable. There were the famous gladiatorial combats, where warriors from across the empire, some slaves and some free men, fought for their lives and a chance at freedom and fame. But that was just the beginning. The Romans staged elaborate wild animal hunts, known as *Venatians*, exotic beasts from the farthest reaches of the Empalians from Africa, bears from Caledonia, and tigers from Persia were unleashed into the arena to be hunted by skilled warriors. The crowd roared as man and beast clashed in a deadly dance. And then there were the *Naumachia, the staged naval battles. In the early days, before the complex underground chambers known as the Hypogeum were built, the arena floor could be flooded with water. Replicas of warships, manned by prisoners and condemned criminals, would engage in epic sea battles, reenacting famous historical victories. Imagine sitting in the stands, watching ships collide and sink, all within the stone walls of the Colosseum. It was the ultimate display of Roman power and engineering genius, a theatrical production on a scale that has rarely been matched since. These games were more than just entertainment. They were a political tool. They distracted the masses from political unrest and reinforced the emperor's power, reminding everyone of Rome's dominion over both man and nature. Beneath the sun-scorched sand of the arena floor lay a hidden world, the Hypogeum. This labyrinth of tunnels, passages, and chambers was the backstage of the Colosseum's grand theater. It was a hive of activity, a place of controlled chaos. Here, gladiators would wait, their hearts pounding in the dim torchlight, listening to the roar of the crowd above. Wild animals, caged and agitated, were hoisted up to the arena floor through a complex system of elevators and trapdoors, appearing as if by magic to the delight of the spectators. Stagehands and slaves scurried through the corridors, preparing props, weapons, and scenery for the next act. The Hypogeum was the engine that powered the spectacle, a masterpiece of logistical planning that allowed for seamless and dramatic transitions between events. It was a world of shadow and anticipation, a stark contrast to the bright, brutal reality of the arena just a few feet above. So, who were the gladiators, these icons of the arena? They came from all walks of life. Many were prisoners of war, slaves, or condemned criminals with no other choice. But some were free men, volunteers who were drawn by the promise of fame, fortune, and glory. They were the rock stars of their day. Successful gladiators could win their freedom, earn vast sums of money, and become household names adored by the public. They trained in special schools, or ludi asterisk, where they learned to fight with specific weapons and armor. Each style creating a different kind of spectacle. Tirewaste asterisk, Ricirius asterisk, with his net and trident. Quick and agile, he was often pitted against the Secutor asterisk, a heavily armed fighter whose helmet had only 2 small eye holes to protect against the trident. Each pairing was a strategic matchup designed for maximum drama. Their lives were brutal and often short, but in the arena, they were legends. They weren't just fighting for their lives. They were performing. Every move was for the crowd. Every clash of steel a note in a symphony of violence that held 80,000 people utterly captivated. But the Colosseum story doesn't end with the fall of Rome. As the empire declined, so did the grand spectacles. The last gladiatorial combat was recorded in the 5th century, and the animal hunts ceased in the 6th. The mighty arena fell into disuse. Over the centuries, it was ravaged by earthquakes, fires, and, most damagingly, by human hands. It became a quarry, its precious travertine and marble stripped away to build palaces, churches, and bridges across Rome. It served as a fortress for medieval families, a workshop for artisans, and even a sanctuary for a religious order. Each era left its mark, transforming the arena from a stage of public spectacle into a symbol of decay and rebirth. Yet, through it all, its immense structure endured, a haunting skeleton against the Roman sky. It was during the Renaissance that people began to see the Colosseum not as a source of building materials, but as a monument to a glorious past. Artists and architects studied its design, and writers romanticized its history. It became a symbol of Rome as eternal power and a must-see stop on the grand tour for European intellectuals. By the 19th century, efforts began to preserve what was left. The arena was cleared of debris, its structure reinforced, and its significance as a World Heritage Site was finally recognized. Today, the Colosseum stands as the most iconic symbol of Rome. It draws millions of visitors each year who walk its ancient corridors and stand on the edge of the arena, trying to imagine the roar of the crowd and the clash of swords. It's a place of profound contemplation, a monument to both the brilliance and the brutality of human civilization. It reminds us of the heights of our ingenuity and the depths of our cruelty. It is a testament to the fact that what we build can outlast us, carrying our stories for millennia. The Colosseum is more than just stone and mortar. It's a living chronicle of human history. It tells a story of power, spectacle, and survival that still resonates with us today. From the genius of its construction to the drama of the games and its eventual transformation into the ruin we cherish, it has always been at the heart of the Roman identity. This colossal amphitheater has stood as a silent witness to the grandeur and brutality of ancient Rome. Imagine this: 80,000 spectators, a sea of faces from every corner of the empire, all roaring with a single voice. The air, thick with anticipation, the smell of dust, and the tension of life and death hanging in the balance. This was more than just entertainment. It was the pulse of Rome itself. Construction began under Emperor Vespasian in 72 AD, a gift to the Roman people, funded by the spoils of war. It was a masterpiece of engineering, a symbol of Flavian power designed to erase the memory of the tyrannical Emperor Nero. When it was finally inaugurated by his son, Titus, the celebration was unlike anything the world had ever seen. 100 days of spectacular games, a marathon of spectacle and slaughter that set the stage for centuries of tradition. But what really happened on the sand-covered floor of this arena? The stars of the show were, of course, the gladiators. These men, often slaves, prisoners of war, or criminals, were trained killers who fought for the ultimate prize: their freedom. They weren't just brutes. They were highly skilled athletes, each with their own specialty. There was the Reciarius, quick and agile, armed with a net and a trident. His opponent might be the Secutor, heavily armored, whose helmet was designed with only 2 small eye holes to protect him from the trident's prongs. Or perhaps the Murmillo, with his large shield and fish-crested helmet, facing off against the Threx, a gladiator armed with a curved short sword. Each pairing was a tactical dance, a deadly chess match where one wrong move meant the end. Legends were born in this arena. Men like Spartacus, though he fought before the Colosseum was built, embodied the spirit of the gladiator, who defied the system. Other champions, whose names are now lost to time, won their freedom and fame, becoming celebrities of their day. Their images were found on lamps, mosaics, and pottery. They were the superstars of the ancient world. The games weren't just about man-to-man combat. The Romans had a flair for the dramatic. They staged elaborate wild beast hunts, known as asterisk. Venetians. Asterisk, imagine elephants, lions, tigers, and bears, shipped from the farthest reaches of the empire, unleashed into the arena to fight each other or to face armed hunters. Engineers even devised complex systems of elevators and trapdoors, allowing animals and scenery to appear as if by magic from beneath the arena floor, creating a stunning and terrifying surprise for the audience. And the stories don't stop there. The most incredible spectacle of all might have been the asterisk, Naumachia asterisk, or Moxie battles. Historians like Cassius Dio wrote that the arena floor could be flooded, turning the Colosseum into a giant basin where miniature warships, crewed by prisoners, would reenact famous naval victories. Picture it: ships clashing, oars splintering, and men fighting on deck, all within the walls of this amphitheater. The sheer scale and ambition of such a feat are almost impossible to comprehend today. The Colosseum was also a powerful political tool. Emperors used the games to curry favor with the populace, providing bread and circuses, to keep the masses happy and distracted. An emperor's generosity and the scale of his games could make or break his reputation. Seating was strictly hierarchical, a perfect reflection of Roman society. The emperor and senators had the best seats, right near the action. Above them sat the nobles, then the wealthy citizens, and finally, at the very top, the common people, slaves, and women. Your seat in the Colosseum told everyone exactly who you were. But there's a darker side to the legend, a chapter shrouded in debate. For centuries, the Colosseum was seen as a site of Christian martyrdom. Stories tell of believers thrown to the lions for refusing to renounce their faith. While there's no definitive archaeological proof that mass martyrdoms happened specifically inside the Colosseum, its association with persecution made it a sacred site for Christians for centuries. The cross that stands inside today is a powerful reminder of that legacy of faith and suffering. As the Roman Empire began to crumble, so did the glory of the Colosseum. The last gladiatorial fights were held in the 5th century, and the final beast hunts in the 6th. The age of spectacle was over. The great amphitheater fell into disuse. Earthquakes in the 9th and 14th centuries caused massive damage, toppling large sections of the outer wall. What followed was centuries of neglect. The Colosseum became a giant quarry. Its marble seats, decorations, and even the iron clamps holding the stones together were plundered and repurposed to build palaces, churches, and bridges all across Rome. It became a fortress, a housing complex, and even a workshop. Its arches sheltered the city's poor and forgotten. The arena, once a stage for epic battles, was overgrown with plants, a wild garden in the heart of a fallen empire. Yet, through all the decay and destruction, the Colosseum endured. Its skeleton remained too immense to be completely dismantled, a haunting reminder of a lost world. During the Renaissance, artists and architects began to see its beauty again, not as a source of building materials, but as a monument to classical antiquity. Popes began to consecrate it, recognizing its historical and spiritual significance, which helped save it from further ruin. And that brings us to today. The Colosseum is no longer a stage for blood and sand, but a global icon of history and human achievement. Each year, over 7 million people walk through these arches, their footsteps echoing where gladiators and emperors once stood. They come to feel the weight of history, to imagine the thunderous roar of the crowd, to touch the stones that have seen so much. Looking at it now, it's a place of quiet reflection. You can trace the cracks in the walls, see the remnants of the underground tunnels, the hypogeum where gladiators and animals waited in darkness before being lifted into the blinding sun of the arena. You can stand in the upper tiers and look down, imagining the view that a common Roman citizen would have had 2,000 years ago. Major restoration efforts are constantly underway, working to preserve this fragile wonder for future generations. Archaeologists continue to uncover new secrets, piecing together the complex puzzle of its past. The Colosseum teaches us about Roman engineering, their society, their love of spectacle, and their capacity for both genius and cruelty. It stands as a powerful monument to the dual nature of humanity, our ability to create things of breathtaking beauty and scale, and our fascination with conflict and survival. It's a testament to the rise and fall of empires, but more than that, it's a story of resilience, a story of how a place of death can be reborn as a symbol of life, culture, and the enduring power of history. The sun sets over Rome, casting long, dramatic shadows through the Colosseum's arches. The crowds of tourists fade away, and for a moment, you can almost hear the ghosts of the past clash of swords, the roar of the lion, the chant of the crowd. This is more than a building. It's the soul of Rome, forever etched in stone. Imagine over 60,000 slaves, toiling day and night, hauling massive travertine blocks, and perfecting a design so advanced it could seat over 50,000 spectators and be emptied in mere minutes. The Colosseum wasn't just a building, it was a statement, a gift to the Roman people. It hosted spectacular public events, from dramatic reenactments of famous battles to exotic animal hunts. But above all, it was the arena for the most legendary spectacle of them all, the gladiatorial games. Who were these gladiators? They were a mix of slaves, prisoners of war, and even free men who chose this life, seeking fame, fortune, or freedom. Each had a story, a hope, a fear. Trained in specialized schools, they became masters of combat, each with their own unique armor and weaponry. The Retiarius with his net and trident, the heavily armored Secutor. The Marmilo with his fish-crested helmet. They were the superstars of their day, revered and reviled in equal measure. When they entered the arena, the roar of the crowd was deafening. The fate of a fallen gladiator often rested in the hands of the spectators. A thumbs up or a thumbs down from the emperor or the crowd could mean the difference between life and death. It was a brutal, visceral form of entertainment, a reflection of a society that valued courage and martial prowess above all else. But the spectacle wasn't limited to what happened on the sand. The Colosseum itself was a marvel of innovation. Beneath the arena floor lay the hypogeum, intricate, two-level subterranean network of tunnels and cages. Think of it as the backstage of an epic production. Here, gladiators and wild animals, brought from the furthest corners of the empire, were held before being lifted into the arena through a series of complex elevators and trapdoors. Imagine a lion or a bear suddenly appearing in the middle of the fights. The effect would have been electrifying. The engineer ingenious didn't stop there. The entire structure was designed for crowd control and comfort. 80 entrances, known as vomitoria, allowed tens of thousands of people to enter and exit with ease. Above, a massive retractable awning called the Valerium, manipulated by a special detachment of sailors, could be unfurled to provide shade from the harsh Roman sun. The Colosseum was a city within a city, a perfectly orchestrated machine for mass entertainment. The inaugural games, held by Emperor Titus in 80 AD, lasted for 100 days straight. Historical accounts tell of thousands of animals being slain and countless gladiators battling for their lives. A display of imperial wealth and power on an unprecedented scale. These events were more than just entertainment. They were a political tool, a way for emperors to curry favor with the populace, embodying the policy of bread and circuses to keep the masses content. Yet, as the Roman Empire began its slow decline, so too did the fortunes of the Colosseum. The last gladiatorial combat was recorded in the 5th century, and the animal hunts ceased in the 6th. Earthquakes took their toll, and for centuries, the mighty structure was plundered for its stone. Its iron clamps melted down for other uses. It became a fortress, a quarry, and even a Christian shrine. But the Colosseum endured. It survived the fall of Rome, the Dark Ages, and the Renaissance. It stood through wars and revolutions. Its broken arches, a poignant reminder of a lost world. Today, it is the most recognized symbol of Rome, attracting millions of visitors each year who walk its ancient corridors and stand in awe of its sheer scale. When you stand inside the Colosseum today, close your eyes for a moment. Try to hear the roar of the crowd, the clash of swords, the desperate prayers of men facing their destiny. Feel the weight of history that permeates every stone. This was not just an arena of death, but also a stage for incredible courage, skill, and a relentless human desire for glory. The Colosseum is more than just a ruin. It is a storybook written in stone, a lesson in engineering, a study in sociology, and a powerful symbol of both the pinnacle of human achievement and the depths of our nature. It reminds us that empires rise and fall, but the monuments they leave behind continue to tell their story for eternity. From the blood-soaked sands to the silent, sunlit ruins, the Colosseum remains eternal, a symbol of Rome and of humanity itself. Its arches have seen triumph and tragedy. Its sands have soaked in courage and fear. Tonight, we step inside the world of gladiators, emperors, and untold secrets. This is a story of courage, ambition, and the eternal heart of Rome. In 72 AD, Emperor Vespasian began construction of a monument that would outlive his reign and define an era. Built on the ruins of Nero's artificial lake, the Colosseum was a marvel of engineering, stone, concrete, and ingenuity shaped into an arena capable of holding up to 80,000 spectators. Every brick and arch told a story of ambition, skill, and the relentless pursuit of glory. Imagine the sheer scale of this project. It took over 60,000 Jewish captives, working relentlessly for nearly a decade, to bring this vision to life. The Colosseum wasn't just a building, it was a statement. A gift from the Flavian dynasty to the people of Rome, a symbol of their power and generosity, replacing the private indulgence of Emperor Nero with a public spectacle for all. Gladiators were both slaves and celebrities, trained for combat, fame, and survival. From the training schools, or ludi, they emerged into the arena to face deadly battles, man against man, man against beast. Lions, tigers, and even elephants were brought from distant lands, turning the Colosseum into a stage of fear and fascination. But the gladiator wasn't just a brute. They were highly trained athletes, each specializing in different weapons and armor, like the heavily armed Murmillo or the swift Ricciarius with his net and trident. Their lives were harsh, their training brutal, yet they achieved a level of fame that most Romans could only dream of. Children played with gladiator figurines, and their images were found on everything from mosaics to oil lamps. They were the superstars of their day, living on the knife's edge between adoration and oblivion. But the games were more than just gladiator combat. The Colosseum hosted a dizzying variety of spectacles. The day often began with venashins, or wild beast hunts. Thousands of exotic animals, captured from the furthest corners of the empire, were unleashed into the arena to be hunted by skilled warriors. Imagine the terror and awe of seeing a rhinoceros or a crocodile for the first time, right in the heart of Rome. Then, there were public executions, a grim reminder of Roman justice. But perhaps the most incredible of all were the naumachia. Asterisks staged naval battles. By flooding the arena floor, the Colosseum could transform into a miniature sea, where fleets of ships, crewed by prisoners, would reenact famous naval victories. It was the ultimate display of Roman engineering and theatricality, a spectacle so grand it's almost impossible to comprehend today. Beneath the arena floor lay a hidden world known as the Hypogeum. This was the backstage of the Colosseum, a complex labyrinth of tunnels, elevators, and holding pens. A sophisticated system of ramps and trapdoors allowed for gladiators and animals to be lifted into the arena, appearing as if from nowhere, adding to the dramatic effect of the games. Picture the scene below. The stench of sweat and fear, the roars of caged lions echoing through the dark corridors, the tense final moments of a gladiator before being hoisted into the blinding sunlight and the deafening cheers of the crowd. This underground network was the engine that powered the spectacle, a masterpiece of stagecraft that kept the 80,000 spectators on the edge of their seats. So, who attended these games? Everyone. The Colosseum was a microcosm of Roman society. The seating arrangement, known as the cavia asterisk, was strictly stratified. The emperor and the Vestal virgins had the best seats, right near the action. Above them sat the senators, then the knights, the wealthy citizens, and so on, all the way up to the highest tiers where the common people, the poor, and the women were seated. It was free entertainment for the masses, a policy known as bread and circuses. By providing food and spectacular games, the emperors could keep the populace happy and distracted, securing their own political stability. It was a place where all of Rome came together, from the most powerful to the most humble, united by a shared thirst for spectacle. But why did the Romans crave such violent entertainment? To our modern sensibilities, it seems barbaric, but for them, the games served multiple purposes. They were a display of the empire's power, showcasing its ability to capture exotic beasts and trained warriors from across the known world. They reinforced Roman virtues like courage, discipline, and contempt for death. The gladiator, who faced his end with dignity, was an embodiment of Asterix's virtues, the Roman ideal of manliness. The games also served as a form of social control, a visceral reminder of the power of the state and the consequences of rebellion. In a world without mass media, the Colosseum was the ultimate platform for imperial propaganda, a stage where the story of Rome was written in blood and sand. As the Roman Empire began to decline, so did the grandeur of the games. The cost of hosting such elaborate spectacles became unsustainable. The rise of Christianity also played a crucial role. Its teachings, which valued human life and compassion, were fundamentally at odds with the bloodshed in the arena. Gladiator contests were officially banned in the early 5th century, and the last beast hunts took place about a century later. The Colosseum fell into disuse. It was damaged by earthquakes, plundered for its stone and marble to build palaces and churches, and even used as a fortress and a quarry. For centuries, it stood as a magnificent ruin, a shadow of its former glory. Yet, its story was far from over. During the Renaissance, artists and architects began to study its design, recognizing it as a masterpiece of Roman engineering. It became a symbol of Rome's enduring legacy, a powerful connection to a glorious past. By the 19th century, efforts began to preserve what was left. Excavations uncovered the Hypogeum, revealing the secrets of the arena's backstage. Today, the Colosseum is one of the most iconic landmarks in the world, attracting millions of visitors each year. It stands not just as a monument to the power and cruelty of ancient Rome, but as a testament to human ingenuity, ambition, and our enduring fascination with history. When you walk through its arches today, Trito, listen past the noise of the modern city, and you might just hear the echoes of the past. The roar of the crowd, the clash of swords, the final breath of a gladiator. The Colosseum is more than just stone and mortar. It's a portal to another time. It reminds us of the heights of human achievement and the depths of our nature, a place of both spectacular life and brutal death. Its legacy is a complex and powerful story that continues to captivate us 2,000 years later. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this glimpse into the world of the Colosseum, please hit that like button, and do you want to forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you won't miss our next adventure into history. Let us know in the comments what ancient wonder you'd like us to explore next. Until then, stay curious.